Welcome to the Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson and thank you for joining me in this week's episode. Now this week's episode is a continuation, I suppose, of last week's episode where we looked at doing the skip slice full head technique. Now that is a fantastic technique and one that I absolutely love. But there's a new technique in town and everybody's talking about it. And it's something that I really wanted to share with you guys, having practiced it a lot quite some months ago now, prior to going into lockdown, and then going all through lockdown, kind of not getting round to actually making this video. So here we are, we're doing it off the back of last week, because I think this is a good follow-up service for clients that you've done the skip slice technique to, want to be a bit blonder but don't want the high maintenance roots that they had before. For those people who come in with a lot of natural colour or a lot of brown or whatever colour they've come in with, and their predominant change is going to be blonde, but they don't want those high impact roots, this technique is the one, and it is the infamous airtouch technique. Now, I know that Instagram is awash with airtouch techniques, and social media in general had a bit of a hum about it for a while. And I think it's a really good technique. It does have some quirks that you kind of have to work around, and I'm going to give you my experiences and how I've worked around them during this tutorial. So I won't say any more about it. Once we get into the technique, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a great technique. The look is beautiful. There's so many hairstylists I know now that rely nearly solely on airtouch. And I know lots and lots of people who are selling courses on airtouch for a lot of money. So this is going to give you a little free insight into what it's all about. I'm going to crack on. Listen, before I go, as always, thank you everybody who hits that subscribe button, smashes that thumbs up button and drops those comments down. And I want to say a huge thank you to the enormous amount of birthday wishes you guys sent me last week. It was massively appreciated. And as always, to my Patreons, the people who are there supporting me financially to help me produce the highest quality videos I can right now, and that is only going to be bigger, better, stronger, faster in the future because of the support of anybody who joins the Patreon. If you'd like to know more about the Patreon, it's linked down in the description. If you want to know any details that you can't see in that description down there, then do let me know in the comment section and I will ultimately do my utmost to get back to you as soon as I can. But before I sign off to get on with this demonstration, one more quick thing to remember. If you haven't already, don't forget to get your entries into the prize draw to win my birthday giveaway treat to you guys, a pair of GHD gold stylers. It's really easy to enter. All you do is go over to Instagram, send me a screenshot of the fact that you're subscribed to the channel, and send me a screenshot of you having sent a message to a friend, a colleague, a relative, recommending that they check out the channel. 2 screenshots in my DMs on Instagram and you will be in the draw. And if you don't have Instagram, as some people came to me and said I don't have Instagram, then find me on Facebook, add me on Facebook, send me a private message on Facebook, and I will make sure that I add you into the draw to win these. And I will be announcing the winner in the first week of August, the first weekend of August. Okay, let's get on with today's tutorial. Thank you for hitting that sub button. Thank you for commenting down below. And thank you for being such a supportive community of the Life of Hair. Let's get on with today. A wonderful week. Look, stay safe, stay sane. See you all soon. Okay, here's our lovely model from last week with her freshly applied set of highlights. And we're just going to look at the pre-section of this technique really, really quickly. And it's not a fancy pre-section in any shape or form. It's just 4 quadrant from the highest point in the head down to the back of the ear, into the natural parting wherever the hair is going to be worn, center, side, left side, right side, whatever it's going to be. Make sure it's in that parting. And then we've just got, again, highest point of the head to the back of the ear, and then the quadrant we're going to start on, which is this quadrant right here. Now, it's a really, really straightforward technique. For me, it's all about usability. If we can't use these techniques in the salon, they're worthless. There's no point really in learning a technique if you're a salon stylist that you're not going to be able to use on a daily, weekly basis. So that's where we're at. So in my experience of using this technique, really how you take your sections, whether they be diagonal, or horizontal, it doesn't actually seem to play much impact into the end result. One of the things that I have noticed with this technique is that the sections don't want to get too thick. They want to be around 1 centimetre in depth or so, and there's a specific reason for that, which I'll explain in a minute. Now, because everybody's hair goes through a growth cycle, allergen, testogen, collagen, I never know if I've said that right or have pronounced it right, but it's grow, rest, fall out, basically. And because of that process, we have hundreds of little hairs within our hair. And so the way that AirTouch works, or Airsoft, I've seen some other people call it Airsoft, I think. Airsoft balayage, AirTouch balayage, it's just people naming the same thing, different things. The way that it works is that what we do is we come in with our hairdryer and then we push those fine hairs through the section. So let me give you a little demo. And a hot tip, have your hairdryer on cold as not to burn the hair when you're doing this. So if we can just look down here now, we can see all this hair that's kind of fallen through the section that is shorter than the actual length. And this hair is going to provide us with our blend. So we're not going to be colouring that hair. We're going to leave it. And then we simply just come in with our foil, place our foil underneath our section, and then load up with our lightener wherever we decide we want the lightness to finish, really. So some sections I'm going to do higher up and some sections I'm going to do lower down. And I'm still going to paint in a slight V formation. What I have found with this technique is that if you do just put a horizontal line in, you will get demarcation that you need to blend out later. So I always go in with a little V shape when I'm using this technique, as you can see there, and that just helps to blend everything through later. And then I'm just going to fold up my foil. Now, I can use foil on these techniques because I'm a big fan of clean film when it comes to techniques when I'm doing freehand painting. And the reason I'm a big fan of clean film is because it sits on the hair very gently, but this is what we call a full saturation technique, a technique where the product, where the bleach is going through all through the section. So it doesn't really matter too much how weighty, how much pressure we put on that section, because the product is pressed all the way through. We're not relying on it sitting on the surface. Like when we do a balayage, we're painting the surface of a section. We need to be really careful about what we lay on it after. Sometimes you'll get, like especially on this hair where it's kind of a bit grippy, you can see that the shorter hairs want to come through but they're not. So you just tease them down as you need them, you know, and just make sure that you've got a sufficient amount of those short hairs down here out of the way before you go in and paint your section. I'm going to go a little bit higher with this one just because I'm going to alternate them, high then low. Just like that, beautiful. It's a really quick, it's a great technique, you know, in terms of time and speed. You know, it's really salon friendly. And if you're working up the head in 1 centimetre sections, you're going to get this done in no time at all. So remember the last one we did down, we did right up to the top. So we're going to do this one lower down. And I know some people are going to say, can I do a, you know, a W-shaped section? And yes, you can do a W-shaped section. You know, where you've got two darker pieces and a point of light and a point of light. Absolutely. Always just really focus on your saturation though, guys. It's really, really, really important to focus on that saturation. And then when you take your ends of your section up, try not to overlap where it's really heavily saturated onto your V shapes or demarcation, because otherwise you'll just print bleach onto what you wanted to stay unbleached. Now I know loads of you are going to ask me what speed to have your hairdryer on, because I said have it on cold, but I have it on full speed to really blow the hair through. And if you get any of this kind of, not knotty, it's not knotty, it's just like where the short hairs are so short that they start to bunch up a bit, just smooth them out before you do anything. You could backcomb them out of the way if you really wanted to, but you don't need to. You can just get them out of the way with your fingers. So I'm going to go higher with this one as I went lower with the last one. And I know what some of you are going to think, you can't be bothered to keep picking up your hairdryer, putting it down again, picking it up. Well, yeah, I kind of agree with you, but the technique is completely different to backcombing. You know, when you backcomb hair and you push all these short hairs up towards the root area out of the way, you've then got to get that backcombing out. Whereas with this particular technique, then you don't really have to get that hair out. It's just going to be absolutely seamless. So if you've got a client with a sensitive scalp who you want to do like a backcombing style technique on, then airtouch, airsoft, whatever you want to call it, is probably a more preferable service for, and especially if you just don't like dragging out backcombing out of your client's hair. If you haven't got apprentices to help you or whatever, you know, this type of technique is really, really, really useful to do when you're kind of haven't got the time to be combing out tons and tons of backcombing, or you don't want to use half a litre of conditioner to get out the backcombing that you did. The big thing to remember this technique, the main premise of this technique, is that you make sure that the small hairs that you did blow through the section are just well out of your way. They're playing me up a bit tonight on this mannequin head, but I find it actually easier on a real person. This mannequin head makes this job actually quite a lot harder. That's annoying. So there's quite a lot of hair come out of this section, and that's fine. You want to kind of go with that, you know, because you're creating like a sort of dusty highlighted effect, almost balayage highlight effect. You don't want to have loads of hair in the section. You want it to be quite a thin section, and it's gonna have much more coverage than you think as well. That's one thing that I do find with this technique, is that you think, oh crikey, I've like blasted more than half the hair through the section, but then when you actually process it and it comes out the other side, it's a lot more colour in the hair than I was. Well, I mean, it caught me off guard the first few times anyway. And I've also done it the opposite way, where I've not blown enough hair through the section, and I've done kind of thicker, chunkier sections, and that does not work. So it is imperative that you really, really take your time on blowing the hair through the section, getting that right, and that will save you a lot of heartache later. So in this top section, we are left with a little triangle of hair that's kind of approximately 3 inches by 3 inches by 3 inches. We're going to leave that. I'm going to incorporate that into a whole section on the crown area when we get around to it. You'll notice that I do that a lot in my techniques. I do a lot of kind of leaving that crown area out specifically to deal with it as an individual piece of hair rather than incorporating it into this section. Okay, so we're on to this triangle section on the top that I mentioned here earlier. And all we're going to do is do exactly what we did before, but we're going to work diagonally through this crown area just to kind of give it a fluidity in the crown area that otherwise you don't necessarily get if you're just painting up horizontally straight up that area. So same rules apply. We're just going to work our way through these sections. Sometimes you just need to pinch the corners on the sections just to make sure that they stay, especially when you're like blowing hair, when you're blowing air at the hair at full speed, it can push the section open. So just something to bear in mind. We're going to stay in that kind of 1 centimetre sized section as we work through, and then we are on to a final section in this area, kind of between, actually I'm going to split it into 2, change of plan. And that's a good point, guys. I always kind of talk about this, but we'll talk about it again in case you've never seen one of my episodes. Always deal with what's in front of you, especially with these kind of modern techniques. Always just look at what you've got and adjust to according to what you need. Don't just grab a section and hope it'll be okay. Think about it and adjust as you need to. It's going to make all the difference to your work if you do. So if you get this occur, which happens quite a lot on a mannequin head, and it does happen on clients as well, but if you get this where the hair underneath has just got caught, just pull it down. Just use your tail comb and just pull that shorter hair through, okay? And just get that shorter hair out of the way, so you're just left with the longer hairs on top. And there we have the back sections all complete, nice and quick, nice and simple, easy to do. We're working with a natural parting. I'm going to stick in that horizontal foil placement up the head, just for like maximum coverage in this instance. Still going to alternate the sections, high then low, high then low, and I'm still going to use V-shaped sections and W-shaped sections throughout each section. Just for a bit of variety. There was going to be kind of no specific rhyme or reason, and it doesn't personally, like, there's kind of no, it's not better to do one or the other, more of one, more of the other. It doesn't really, it just helps to have those kind of shapes within the technique. So here's a hot tip. If that happens to you, one of your the root area of one of your shorter hairs gets hooked into your section by accident, don't ignore it, take it out straight away, wipe off the bleach and push it back behind your section. That will save you the pain of having a blob halfway through your section a little bit later once you've processed it. One of the big things that I'm just going to give you like a tip on as well when you're painting inside your foil is, if you want the maximum lift, get the most product you can in there. Tip that someone gave me recently: if it ain't white, it won't be light, and that's to do with the lightener. If you don't get enough product on the hair so that it does, so you've completely saturated it, you won't get the maximum lift out of the product. So that is a really, really important thing to remember. And then when you're painting in your V-shape edges as well, if you get any product that kind of strays away from your V-shapes and ends up kind of in the middle or somewhere where you didn't want it, just deal with it right there and then. Disperse that product away. Don't let it sit for any more than a couple of seconds, otherwise it will start to lighten those sections and you're going to pay for that later. So yeah, just get on the case. If you ever make a mistake, guys, the faster you fix it, the better the outcome will be. So for me, if I ever do something and I think, oh God, that's not good, I just, you know, crack on, hold my hands up and just fix it as quickly as I possibly can. That is the most important thing for me. Here's a really good tip as well. When you hold the ends, hold them flat in your fingers like that, and then just don't squeeze the life out of them, because it will be really difficult for the hair to pass. Obviously you want the hair further down the hair to pass through, but I find if you're throttling the hair like this and you're pinching it all together, it doesn't pass through quite as well. So smooth it out between your fingers, then run the hairdryer over it and you'll have a lot more success. Now, just as another little added thing, a hot tip, I suppose, these are great little tools. You might have one in your kit already, a little tiny makeup brush. I'm not exactly sure what you do with it in terms of your face, but I know with hair, they're great if you want to just diffuse up the hair a little bit of lightener. If you've got thicker saturation and you want to kind of adjust it a little bit. I love having that little brush in my bag or just next to me if I need to kind of diffuse away any weight or whatever, and I don't want to use my finger per se. Sometimes I use my finger, but a lot of the time I use my finger to just to blend away. But if I haven't got gloves on or whatever, like I am now, just because I'm foiling and I'm not likely to get it on my hands, having that little brush in the bag is a kind of really useful thing to go in and blend away really quickly, really simply, with a tool that does the job really well. So as we travel up towards the parting area now, I know that everybody loves kind of a good talk about the parting. We're just going to do exactly what we've been doing all the way through. We're going to come in with our section that is going to run pretty much parallel to the parting. I'm just going to blast through the section. Just like that. And then these little hairs will all fall down. Nice little section on this parting area. So again, elevate it up. Just blast those short hairs through and make sure that they're all well out of the way. And then with this last one, you've kind of got to decide how much you want to go up to the parting area, how much blonde this person would like to see. In this instance, I'm not going to go too high up to the root area. I want to keep it kind of lower down. Still going to put my V's in though. Right, on to our last quadrant, quarter, whatever you want to call it, whatever name you give your sections. Creating this ultra soft blended look using the hairdryer to blast through the sections to diffuse those shorter hairs. And that is really the premise of this technique. It is just about getting all those shorter hairs out of the way, as if you would when you were backcombing, but you don't have the arduous process of removing the backcombing afterwards. So it might take you a little bit longer just to blast the sections through, but I think it saves you time at the other end where you don't have to be brushing out backcombing, which can be painful for the client and take actually much longer than it would just to blast through the sections. So for me, I know it swings in roundabouts a little bit, and I mentioned right at the beginning about picking up your hairdryer and putting it down again, but I think the payoff is there, to be honest. In terms of charging for this technique, should be charging, you know, a good full head balayage for this technique. It'd probably take you about an hour to do a full head, and I know some of you might charge for like an hour and a half, whatever it would take you to do your longest service, because, you know, this is kind of a custom bespoke technique. People will be really interested to see you're using the hairdryer, and they'll ask you why you're using the hairdryer and all those kind of things. So, you know, make sure you charge for your time, guys. Never undercharge for what you know and can do for somebody, because look, you've invested lots and lots of time into your education, not just as a young person coming through or an adult learner. Don't get me started on adults in hair education and the way that they can be treated, but that's another topic for another day. But make sure you're charging for what you're worth. Don't be ever fooled into thinking that because, you know, the woman down the road doesn't charge as much as you, that she's probably not doing the same things as you. She's probably not investing the same amount of time, effort and energy that you are. And what you need to do is use your social media to kind of show how you are improving your skills and bettering yourself, and why that has improved your hair work, and people need to come to you. And it is going to cost a bit more, but they're going to get a guaranteed better result. So for me, that's like a win-win situation. You know, you invest your time, you talk about it on social media, you tell your clients, you know, you post pictures of mannequin heads. Even if you just had a practice at this, for instance, if you just practiced this technique on the weekend and, you know, did it in your garden, style it nicely, take a little picture, pop it on your Instagram, show your clients that you're practicing, you've got some new techniques to show them, create some interest, some excitement around, you know, what you've been doing to improve your skills. And then, you know, your worth will just grow naturally, organically, but equally you've got to put your prices up, you know. And when you put your prices up, you will lose clients, 100% you will lose clients, but that's okay, because the few clients that you lose, and there probably won't be that many unless you go crazy and you like triple your prices, you know, if you just put your prices up a good chunk, you know, year on year, you're going to lose a few clients, but the few clients you lose are going to be weighed off by the extra money you take. And eventually, because you've been, you know, grinding on your social media and putting out great pictures of new work you've been doing and practicing and all that jazz, new clients will start to come to you, new clients that were never going to be clients of yours before, because, you know, they didn't know what you were worth, and then they saw you and they thought, ah, you know what, this girl's really grinding, this guy's really grinding, she's putting the effort in, look at her, she works really hard, I want her to do my hair. Oh, it costs more, oh, that's okay. It works like that, trust me. You've just got to commit to the process. And again, as we work up towards the parting, it's kind of really important that we bear in mind the width of our sections and how that section is going to fall. Just thinking ahead a little bit, planning your sections, especially in really key areas, you know, throughout the head, crown area, highest points, places like that. Really think about what you're doing. So for instance, this section's not that thick, but I still think it's probably a bit too thick at the top here, so I'm going to split it, and I'm going to have a very small section there, but that's okay, because I'd rather that than have a section that was too chunky. And if you're having problems getting your foils to stay, make sure that when you first apply your product that you really heavily saturate the hair on the mid-lengths, the hair that you're going to be fully saturating anyway. That is super important, and that will really help you to kind of cement the hair into place, so then you can work on your blending, or you know what shape you're going to put into each section, whatever. Just make sure that you secure that down, because then you've got freedom to kind of move your hands around and decide what you're going to do. So we are on to our last section. So with this technique, things to remember are, don't make your sections too thick. If you've got too much hair in that section, or the fine hairs aren't traveling through the section very well, then just lift that section up to remove them, because it's really important that the section's fine enough. Use either a V shape, as I'm painting here, or that W shape that I used on the previous section, to make sure you blend out any mistakes you make. Get rid of them as quickly as you can. And apart from that, just have fun with it. It's a really simple technique to do in the salon. It's great if you do a lot of backcombing techniques and you're sick of trying to get that backcombing out of the hair. And apart from that, there she is. What a beauty. So we're going to let it process half an hour or so, give it a little style, and then I'll come back and show you what she looks like once she's all done and dusted. Right then, we are back, all processed, all finished, and no toner once again. I didn't want to tone like I didn't last week. It's lifted really cleanly, it's lifted really well. This hair that we have on these mannequin heads lifts really nice and clean. So there's kind of no need for a toner, because she doesn't mind if she has this slightly warmer end result that you see here. And I'm quite fond of it too. I like these kind of vanilla blonde, honey blonde colours. You know, they don't offend my eyes in any way, shape or form. No, not all clients love them, but I think on the right skin tones they look amazing. But anyway, she's not bothered, so I'm not. You know, I'm happy with the lift. And as we can see from the result here, we've got a lot of blonde going through this hair. You know, and she's really blonde now, like mega blonde, and it looks superb to my eyes. The blend is seamless, and you know, well worth the effort and energy of using the hairdryer. And no backcombing to remove. I removed this like you'd remove a set of foils, just pulled them out, and away we went. And so on that note, I think it's a really fantastic technique. If you like teasy lights or shadooshing or backcombing, whatever you do, you'll love doing this AirTouch Airsoft technique. Now, I just wanted to bring into the picture actually what we started with. In last week's episode, we started with no colour, and I actually have exactly the same mannequin head as this, with the original colour on, because if you haven't seen that first episode, and even if you have, you probably won't be able to remember how it started, because we didn't really talk about the starting point. But the exact same mannequin head in exactly the same shade, from the same manufacturer, everything's the same. This is what we started with 2 applications ago. So we did the full head technique, the full head of highlights technique, and then we added in the other technique together. And you can see within 2 applications what a massive, unbelievable difference that is in terms of the way that those 2 look now to then. So 2 applications to get it this light, one with the full head skip slice, and then in with the AirTouch technique. And I think, you know, it's a phenomenal technique. It is well worth getting involved with. And, you know, looking at this, I don't think there's going to be many blonde clients who will be dissatisfied with this look. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, and if you have, please do me the favour of hitting that thumbs up button, subscribing if you haven't already, and don't forget to chat to me down in those comments. Your comments are super important to me. I love giving you as much extra detail as I possibly can. I can't necessarily fit every single thing into these videos, that everything doesn't pop into my mind sometimes, but you guys always have some wicked questions for me. So I'm more than happy to answer those for you as best I possibly can. Have a wonderful week. Look after yourself. Stay safe, stay sane, and I'll see you again for another episode of The Life of Hair very, very soon.